Hello chess enthusiasts, my name is Micha and welcome to my chessrealm YouTube channel. So, European Chess Championship is underway. In the second round there was an interesting duel between Mircea-Emilian Parligras and Tutisani. I hope I have pronounced the names correctly. Let's see what happened. Parligras had white pieces and he started with d4, d5, c4, d-pawn captures on c4, and we have queen's gambit accepted. White continues with e3, e5, bishop captures on c4, knight goes to c6, knight to f3, and now e4 attacking the knight. Well, removing the knight with knight to d2 is pretty much standard move, but white goes for a sharper response. Queen to b3 was played, targeting this f7 square. Needless to say, black cannot grab this knight on f3, because after e-pawn would capture on f3, then bishop goes to f7 check. If king goes to d7, it's queen to e6 mate in 1. If king goes to e7, then bishop grabs the knight on g8. And here rook has to recapture and white would be on exchange up. Because if, for example, after let's say knight to a5, then we have queen to f7 check, king to d6, queen d5, king e7, queen e5. Well, bishop to e6 is the last defense, and then queen to e6 is checkmate. Okay, so in the game, knight goes to h6, defending this f7 square. White continues with knight from f goes to d2, of course. f5, knight goes to c3, bishop to d6, and knight to b5, attacking the bishop. Black doesn't want to lose bishop pair, so bishop goes back to e7, bishop goes to e2, and now a6, attacking the knight. Knight goes back to c3, knight goes to f7, and now g4. A very bold move. White tries to undermine this e4 pawn, who is apparently bothering him. Well, black doesn't go for it immediately. Knight to d6 was played, knight to c4, knight captures on c4, bishop recaptures on c4, and now knight to a5, forking both queen and the bishop. But white has a solution. Queen goes to a5 check, c6 defending, and now bishop goes back to e2. Black continues with b5, attacking the queen. Queen goes back to c2, and now black castles king side. Okay, so black castled, white didn't yet. Black also has space advantage, so he is a bit better. White continues with bishop goes to d2, and now finally f-pawn captures on g4. White responds with knight recaptures pawn on e4. Bishop goes to f5, pinning the knight. Bishop to d3, unpinning. Now discover attack with knight on f6 is possible. So black king goes to h8, avoiding discover attack. Maybe it would be good for white to castle here. Probably queenside castling would be less risky. Anyway, h3 was played, attacking this pawn on g4. So white wants to open the files on the king side, and then he would probably castle queen side, but black keeps the files closed and continues with g3. Knight captures pawn on g3. Bishop captures on d3. Queen recaptures on d3, and now knight to c4, targeting defenseless pawn on b2. Maybe here was the last chance for white to castle queen side. Black would still have the edge, but maybe white could counteract on the king side. In the game, however, white played bishop to c3, defending pawn on b2, but the problem is that this allows the deployment of black knight on f3. So black continues with knight to e5. Queen is under attack. The pawn, of course, cannot capture because queen on d3 is not protected. So queen goes to e4, and now knight to f3 check. It's protected. So queen cannot capture it. King goes to e2, losing the right to castle. Black continues with b4, driving the bishop away. Well, bishop cannot go to d2. After bishop to d2, knight captures on d2, king recaptures, and rook captures on f2. So bishop goes to e1, and now queen to a5. Another very strong move. Bishop on e7 is not protected. But if queen captures bishop on e7, then we have queen to b5 check. King to d1 is the only option. Queen to d3 check. King to c1. Knight captures on e1, threatening mate on c2. So rook would have to capture on e1, of course. Rook would capture on f2. Now there's no other way to stop mate on c2 other than rook to e2, but then rook captures on e2. Knight recaptures on e2 and queen recaptures on e2. Material is equal, yeah, but considering the position of white, king black is winning here. Check on the first rank, grabbing the rook is the main threat, of course. After maybe b3, queen to f1 check, king to b2, queen to f2 check, king to b1, a5, well, b4 pawn is now protected. Rook to f8 is coming with the first rank mating threats, black is winning. Okay, let's go back to our game. So in the game, a4 was played, preventing this queen to b5. Black continues with bishop to d6. And this pawn on c6 is for free. But if queen captures on c6, then bishop captures on g3. F-pawn recaptures. Rook from a goes to c8, attacking the queen. There aren't any good squares for the queen. If queen goes to e6, then knight to d4, double attack on the king and the queen. After e-pawn would capture on d4, of course, rook would go to e8, grabbing the queen. And if, for example, queen would go to e4, then again knight would capture on d4. If white doesn't want to lose this queen immediately, then queen would probably have to capture on d4. Then queen to f5. Well, there isn't much to be done here for white. So in the game, rook to c1 was played. Rook from a goes to e8, attacking the queen. Queen goes to d3. And now queen to d5. And now queen to c4. Trying to trade the most dangerous piece. Yeah, black is a pawn down, so has to keep attacking. Knight to d4 was played, check. Well, white has a few options for the king, but the position is very difficult. Maybe the best option would be king to d3. Then black would play knight to b3, discover check with queen. Of course, king cannot interfere the c file, or queen, because queen is not protected. So white would have to capture black queen on d5 with queen, and then knight to c1 check. King to c2, c-pawn recaptures queen, and king recaptures knight. Bishop would probably capture knight on g3, and f-pawn would recapture. Well, black has a rook for a bishop, and probably a winning position, although it would still require some technique. Okay, so in the game, king to f1 was played. Queen goes to f3, not wanting to exchange, of course, the most dangerous piece. Queen captures knight on d4, winning a piece but not for long. Bishop captures knight on g3. F-pawn cannot recapture, of course, because it's pinned. And protector of the rook on h1 is gone. So rook goes to g1. Black is, of course, totally dominating the game, and white is just waiting for the finishing blow. Rook captures pawn on e3 was played. Now queen cannot capture because queen recaptures, and of course f-pawn is pinned. black threatens with mate in 2, for example, after a random move, let's say b3, then queen would capture on f2, bishop would recapture on f2, rook recaptures on f2, and this is checkmate. So rook to g2 was played, trying to support this f2 pawn, but now we have mate in 3. Can you see it? Black played queen to e2, check, king goes to g1, and now queen captures bishop on e1. And here white resigned the game, because after rook would recapture, then rook would recapture, and it would be checkmate. So I hope you have liked this game, I hope you have learned something from it. If you have any questions, you can find my email below in the description. That's it for now, and see you soon.